Hello, welcome to my Game Week 7 review video. Another exciting week of football. Captains blanking, Spurs capitulating, Brentford taking forever to score, and why can't Arsenal keep a clean sheet suddenly? Loads to look at. If you enjoy the video, please hit that like button and subscribe. Now let's get into it. So, Brentford weren't in such a rush as usual to score this week, waiting patiently until the second minute against Wolves to take the lead. Maybe they realised that scoring in the first 30 seconds wasn't working for them, having done so in the previous 3 matches, after which they never scored again and failed to win any. This game was totally different. I've heard people say it was a match in which both teams forgot how to defend. But in reality, Brentford really dominated, creating 4.09 expected goals to Wolves' 0.89. Yes, Wolves scored 3, and Flecken really could have done better for the third. But the scoreline flattered Wolves in truth. Brentford fully deserved their 5, but they really shared the attacking returns around. The only player to get 2 was Mikkel Damsgaard with 2 assists. He started the last 5 matches and played 90 minutes in the last 2, but his figures of 0.06 expected goals per 90 and expected assists of 0.23 aren't anything to shout about. Brentford's fixture run is really getting good for the next 6, and they're a team worth investing in, but I think there are better options. And Bemo owners might have hoped for more than a solitary goal with Brentford hitting so many, but he still continues to return week in, week out. Another 90 minutes under the belt, and he's one of the top priorities to get in midfield. I'm skipping him for one more week with his match away at Manchester United, but he'll be in for me in game week 9 with Ipswich at home. It'd be a brave manager not to own him against a team with the worst expected goals conceded in the league. If it wasn't for Haaland playing at home to Southampton in the same week, he'd be captain material. Fabio Carvalho also got his second return in 2 weeks, coming off the bench to get Brentford's 5th. It's not ideal seeing him benched, but at 4.8 million, the points are at least looking good. I wouldn't get him in this week for the match away at United, but if we think he'll start at home to Ipswich in game week 9, he could be a nice punt. Certainly a great first bench option, as he will get game time each week and looks a threat when he's on the pitch. Wolves scored 3 goals, but they played poorly. They only created 0.89 xG and were a little fortunate to make the match look closer than it really was. I'm not totally put off investing in their team though. Ryan Aït-Nouri is only 4.4 million and got into some good attacking areas, scoring 1 and assisting another. He may still become a decent option when Wolves have a good fixture run from game week 10. They don't look close to a clean sheet though, so you're really relying on his attacking returns. Matheus Cunha also has 2 goals in 3 games now after getting Wolves second. His minutes have been great all season, and with a decent 0.32 expected goals per 90 and 0.18 expected assists, he really could be a nice player to own between game weeks 10 and 17 as well. Manchester City played Fulham at the Etihad, and we saw starts for Rico Lewis and Josko Gvardiol, with Kyle Walker being benched again. After all his minutes in the league and Champions League recently, this was great news for Lewis owners, and not necessarily something I expected. It looks really good for him going forward now, with Pep showing great confidence in both his ability in the team and his ability to play both weekends and midweek. However, in this match, Fulham showed exactly why they have been doing so well this season. Although City scraped to a 3-2 victory, it was not at all convincing. Stats-wise, Fulham were actually on top, creating 2.40 expected goals compared to only 1.56 from City. Looking at the saves that Ederson made and some of the chances that Fulham missed, City can count themselves pretty lucky. Adama Traore caused havoc against the City defence with his pace and strength, much like we have seen him doing in the past, and really should have made more of 3 fantastic chances, blazing 1 over the bar and Ederson saving 2. Fair to say, City weren't at their defensive best, and Fulham took the lead through Andreas Pereira after a glorious backheeled assist from Raul Jimenez. If you haven't seen it, check it out. It's a surprising source who brought City back into the game though. Kovacic equalising with a deflected effort in the first half before firing a beautiful second to give City the lead early in the second half. Doku added a stunning rocket of a third, giving Rico Lewis owners an enjoyable but generous assist. And for the moment City looked more in control, but they never really were. Fulham managed a late goal from Rodrigo Muniz, which will have irritated his early season owners, who have all sold him after he failed to return at all at the beginning of the season, and then found himself dropped from the starting lineup entirely. Fulham deserved more, having caught City out plenty of times on the break with the pace they possess. It doesn't mean City have become a bad team defensively overnight, of course. Their expected goals conceded are still one of the best in the league at 1.09 per 90 minutes. This match looks to be more of a one-off, and you would expect them to return to significantly improved defensive levels in the future. City do offer up chances due to the way they play, but I still like their upcoming fixtures from a defensive as well as an attacking perspective, so I'm very happy to have Rico Lewis in my team. On the subject of attacking play, perhaps the biggest shock of the week was City scoring 3 goals and a certain Erling Haaland not getting any. Not great for those who captained him, albeit he did better than my captain choice, as you'll see shortly. His second blank in a row means it probably wasn't a great week for most of his owners, but City's fixtures remain great for a while. With Wolves and Southampton up next, 2 of the worst 4 teams in the league for expected goals conceded, this anomaly of blanks isn't going to continue. I certainly wouldn't be considering moving him on anytime soon. I'll be captaining him for both of the next 2 matches for certain. As for Fulham, their upcoming fixtures are okay for the next 6 to 8 weeks. A lot of managers own Emil Smith-Rowe, and he got unexpectedly benched for the first time this season against City. I'm not worried about him losing his place, and suspect this is because Fulham were particularly looking to hit City with pace on the break, which worked on numerous occasions. I personally would expect him to get his spot back in the team and start 9 weeks out of 10, so really wouldn't look to move him on if I was an owner. The quality he has shown this season has been exceptional for Fulham. He's been an important asset for them going forward. Don't panic about this week's bench him, trust him to start nearly every game going forward. For those who sold Saka this week, after his blank against Leicester, it's time to look away. It never sounded like a great move, with Southampton at home next, and that really proved to be the case, with a brilliant performance including a goal and 2 assists. After talking up the potential of an Arsenal captain this week, he really was the one to go for, with a massive 16-point return. It's worth mentioning that Saka limped off during England's midweek defeat to Greece. We'll all be hoping to hear something clear-cut from Mikel Arteta during his press conference next week about Saka's availability for the Bournemouth match, but knowing Arteta, we're not exactly likely to be told. What we do know is that if Saka is fit, he'll play. Arteta doesn't bench him. I expect there's a great chance he's in the Arsenal team in game week 8 like usual. Kai Havertz also scored and got 2 bonus points in a decent week for him, but both Trossard and Martinelli found themselves on the bench. That was a huge disappointment to new owners hoping to score big with them, and especially me who went full in and captained Trossard, which turned out to be a disaster. With my vice-captain on Saka, I'd have loved to see him stay on the bench for the whole 90 minutes, but I never imagined that would happen. I would expect to see both him and Martinelli back in the team in game week 8 against Bournemouth though. After their replacements, Sterling and Jesus didn't impress particularly. Martinelli at least did manage a goal after he came off the bench, but it was Southampton who stunned the Emirates by opening the scoring through Cameron Archer with a very neat finish into the bottom corner after a quick break. Once again, Arsenal failing to keep a clean sheet in one of the easiest fixtures of the season, but still looking decent defensively. They seem to have a habit of keeping clean sheets in the less easy fixtures more than the ones they're expected to, but there is a lot of luck in the way that's worked out lately. Perhaps it bodes well for owners with more tricky upcoming matches. Southampton remain a team to target with your attacking players. They continue to play a risky style of football and have conceded 6 goals this season from defensive errors, by far the most in the league. They look certain to continue doing so unless they adapt, and they've shown no sign of doing that at any point. West Ham took on the Ipswich team, also struggling defensively, and took full advantage with a great 4-1 victory. This was a nice fixture in a run of not so great ones for West Ham, and although their talisman Bowen got a lovely 12 points for owners, it was the lesser-owned Mikel Antonio who stole the limelight with a goal and 3 assists. A popular asset at times in the past, Antonio's injury record and competition for his spot up front from Nicholas Füllkrug this season means he's barely owned at all in FPL. A performance like this shouldn't tempt managers to go there. The fixtures aren't great going forward, and even if they were, Antonio is not guaranteed to keep his spot when Füllkrug returns from injury. He's one to avoid. After this result, Ipswich now have an expected goals against per 90 of 2.17, making them statistically the worst in the league. They will continue to be a team to target, and with Everton at home in game week 8, owners of Dwight McNeil and Dominic Calvert-Lewin will be hoping their players can score particularly well after a quiet game week 7. The one shining light Ipswich do seem to have is Liam Delap, their £50 million signing from Manchester City this summer. I haven't been expecting anything from Ipswich this season, and maybe haven't paid him the attention he deserves. 4 goals in 7 games is a splendid return for a player at 5.6 million. He got one against West Ham, and but for a great save from Areola, could have had a second brace in 2 weeks. The thing about Delap is, his stats aren't great. Only 0.19 expected goals per 90 is low, and right now he is well outperforming that. Can he keep it up? Most players can't, so probably not. But at his price, and with his next fixtures being against Everton, Brentford and Leicester, you wouldn't back against him to get a few more returns. I wouldn't blame anyone who is looking to get him in this week. Liverpool made a few interesting lineup changes away at Crystal Palace, with Robertson, Szoboszlai and Diaz all dropping to the bench. Jota kept his place, and despite missing a couple of good chances, made the difference in this game with the only goal in a 1-0 victory. He also played the full 90 minutes, without Darwin Núñez getting onto the pitch. It really looks as if Núñez isn't trusted by Slot yet, especially in a game which is as tight as this one was. Good minutes ahead for Jota, I expect them. It's a shame the fixtures are turning a little for Liverpool, with Chelsea and Arsenal up next, so he still might be a sell for me. Salah had a quiet game and got an early sub in the 73rd minute. It's not the first time we've seen that happen this season, and maybe we're beginning to learn that perhaps Salah isn't going to always be a 90-minute man every week like he used to be. He'll still be Liverpool's main threat, and I'm not put off owning him during the course of the season despite that knowledge, but with the fixtures as they are, I'm happy not to have him now. As for Diaz, despite being against Palace, he remains in Slot's preferred first team over Cody Gakpo. You're going to get regular starts and minutes, but again, are the fixtures good enough? Not for me. Poor fixtures are too important when it comes to investing in any Liverpool forwards at this time. Not essential sales with Chelsea at home up next, but with Arsenal at home in game week 9, there's no reason to bring anyone in. Liverpool kept another clean sheet, which is great for Van Dijk or Trent owners, like me, who netted 8 points including bonus. We did see an injury to Alisson for Liverpool though, and we know he's going to be out for a while, maybe until the next international break between game weeks 11 and 12. Now, this is going to affect the Liverpool defence, as he's a quality keeper. I'm afraid if you've got him, you really have to move him on and find a replacement. If you're the owner of a Liverpool defender, then clearly the chances of getting clean sheets have also lessened. Not disappeared, as Liverpool have the best defence in the league statistically, but Kelleher as backup isn't at the same level. I wouldn't be bringing in any of their defenders with the upcoming fixtures anyway, but no Alisson should be putting everyone off investing for the next few weeks. Palace also made an interesting change to their starting lineup. Mateta dropped to the bench, with Nketiah preferred in the number 9 role, supported by Eze and Ismail Assar. Palace were actually creative, and Eze should have scored a glorious chance, but it's not been his season so far. As for Mateta, he may become someone you need to sell now, but certainly not someone to transfer in. Nketiah cost Palace 25 to 30 million, a big spend for them, and it's likely he will remain in the first team, meaning Mateta might get further benchings. Perhaps nobody's looking to invest in Palace players anyway after their poor results this season, but Mateta is definitely one to avoid bringing in now. Leicester played Bournemouth at the King Power Stadium in a match I anticipated attackers to have a lot of joy in. It didn't work out like that though, as Leicester found their way to a 1-0 victory, their first of the season, and also the first win by any promoted side. The only goal of the game was a beauty from Benanotte, who is on loan from Brighton. The Bournemouth attack didn't function as well as it has done this season, but they were unfortunate hitting the woodwork twice and having a goal ruled out for offside. Leicester had to ride their luck. Despite the clean sheet, don't look tight at the back at all, and continue to take risks and give the opposition chances on their goal. They won't have many shutouts, and like the other promoted sides, continue to be a defence to target with your attacking players. As for Bournemouth, they now have a run of 3 poor fixtures against Arsenal, Villa and Chelsea. You don't want to go near any of their assets until that is over. The last match on Saturday was Everton at home to Newcastle. Without doubt, my biggest success of the week was the performance of Jordan Pickford, who saved a penalty from Anthony Gordon, kept a clean sheet despite the absence of Jared Braithwaite through injury. The penalty was pretty poor in truth, and the clean sheet most fortunate, but Everton haven't had a lot go their way this season, and this time they've got a significant amount of luck. Those who have Mikalenko were unlucky to see him injured and miss out on this clean sheet, but both him and Braithwaite aren't expected to be out for long, hopefully returning in game week 8 or 9. The Everton fixtures remain good, and hopefully the chance of further clean sheets remain decent in the upcoming weeks, with Ipswich, Fulham and Southampton in the next 3 games. I'd keep faith in their attacking players too. Everton might have had a penalty from Dan Burns' challenge on Calvert-Lewin. It's one of those 50-50 decisions, and on a different day it's given, and Calvert-Lewin gets a chance from the spot. Now Everton play Ipswich, Southampton, West Ham, Brentford, Man United and Wolves all in the next 7 games. All of those teams are in the bottom half of the league for expected goals conceded. Surely the returns are coming for the likes of Calvert-Lewin and McNeil. As an owner, I'm really expecting Calvert-Lewin to do well. As for Newcastle, this is the first time they've failed to score this season, and after the great result against Manchester City in game week 6, would have been hoping for better. The fixtures just aren't great right now though, and I don't see many points in the next 4 games against Brighton, Chelsea, Arsenal and Forest. They're not a team I'd want to go near in FPL until that run is over, and probably not until game week 15. The most exciting game on Sunday was Brighton v Spurs. Spurs were fantastic in the first half, Brighton brilliant in the second. Spurs cruised into a 2-0 lead by half-time through the informed Brennan Johnson and James Maddison. They pressed Brighton energetically high up the pitch, won the ball back in good areas on several occasions, and could have had more but for some poor finishing from Timo Werner. Brighton simply struggled to contain the pace and precision of the Spurs attack. Transferring in Kulusevski over Brennan Johnson at the last minute for the 0.3 million saving didn't go well for me either. Hopefully, Kulu will get his hands on some points against West Ham. So Johnson finished confidently, as he has been. Maddison was a bit lucky by some poor goalkeeping by Bruggen for his goal, but the whole match changed completely straight after the break. Minte scored within 2 minutes and Spurs started to panic. Rutter equalised with his second goal in 2 games, and Welbeck got Brighton's third 8 minutes later. Although Spurs huffed and puffed, they couldn't find a way through, and Brighton held on for a great comeback win. So, what to make of it all? Has Spurs' defence collapsed to the levels of last season after a strong start to this one? Brighton created 1.82 expected goals, which is good, but with their momentum swinging so much during the game, it became far more open than Spurs would have wanted. I don't expect them to have the same kind of trouble against West Ham next week, but is it beyond the realms of possibility that defending becomes a problem once again? It's hard to say, but definitely something to keep an eye out for in the next couple of weeks. Their attacking threat is clearly still there though. Werner isn't helping the team and has a massive lack of confidence in front of goal, so they will do better when Son gets back in the team. Johnson, Kulusevski and Maddison all look like good midfield options for the nice run of Spurs fixtures, and although Slanky didn't get any good scoring chances today, he has been and he will do well. I'm very happy to keep holding on to him and Kulu, as I expect them both to score well in the upcoming matches. As for Brighton, their fixtures remain poor until game week 12. That's really all there is to say about it. Avoid their players until that changes. Chelsea had a tough match at home against Forest, who always fight tooth and nail. The match finished 1-1 with both goalkeepers Sells and Sanchez producing a few outstanding saves. Sanchez from Nico Williams was nearly as good as Sells from Nkunku 20 seconds later as the game neared its conclusion. Sanchez also brilliantly kept out a Jota header with the last action of the game. Palmer got another assist from Madueke's goal, although his input was about as much as Rico Lewis's was for Doku's belter. Chris Wood scored again, and still looks a great option for the next few weeks. James Ward-Prowse was sent off as Forest reduced to 10 men for the second time in 3 weeks after a ridiculous handball producing a second yellow card. Forest had to cling on after that, but they dug in as they tend to and made it over the line for an important point. Noticeably, in this game, both Fofana and Cucurella of Chelsea both received their 5th yellow cards of the season and are now suspended for the match against Liverpool. That's not going to help them defensively at all. Maybe it should encourage us to hold our Liverpool attackers for another week. If you want out by the time they play Arsenal in game week 9, as I probably do, I totally understand that decision. I may be influenced by the potential Saka injury on that one, as if injured, he may have to be a priority sell above Diego Jota though. Another injury on international duty appears to be Matt Sells in goal for Forest. He's due to be out for a number of weeks. I'm not sure this will be a disaster for Forest defensively though. Miguel is a very able deputy, and Forest don't give up many chances. I'm not worried about holding on to Aina and playing him, as I still think clean sheets will be coming for them. Despite his assist, I still have no interest in Palmer yet with his next fixture against Liverpool. He's got a few more weeks to wait until he comes into my team in game week 12, which he most definitely will do. One of the dullest games of the week was Villa v Manchester United. Villa seemed to be pretty off it, maybe a hangover of sorts after their fabulous success against Bayern in the Champions League in midweek. They failed to get going pretty much all game. Even John Duran couldn't manage his customary goal off the bench. Villa did at least manage a clean sheet for the first time this season, but sadly, Konza went off for an injury early on, and his owners like me didn't get the benefit. On the subject of clean sheets, United have actually managed 4 so far in 7 games, but their expected goals against per 90 is still in the bottom half of the league. In this game, Onana didn't have much to do, but they've ridden their luck in other matches. With better fixtures coming up, I had been considering Mazraoui as an option, but he's now out of the Moroccan international squad with injury too, so I have to keep an eye out to see exactly how long he'll be unavailable. I'm not really interested in any of their other defensive options, due to the unknown minutes on the pitch. Bruno Fernandes managed to stay on the pitch for the full 90 minutes this week, avoiding a third red card in 3 games, and he was the closest to scoring of all the players on the pitch. He planted a 25-yard free kick onto the crossbar, continuing his misfortune in front of goal this season. With his ownership now under 7%, he could potentially be a really nice differential with United's lovely fixture on just beginning. That's all for now. Thanks for watching, and as always, please hit the like button and subscribe if you enjoyed it. See you for the next one.